So explain our informational videos. What we're talking about today is the third part of the video series, and I wanted to tell you a quick story. So Say is about tired of people asking about the Humvee I purchased a few months ago that just arrived. So I purchased a military Humvee, online. The government, I don't know if we talked about this, the government's auctioned off thousands and thousands of surplus vehicles that have been decommissioned. And they've auctioned off about 2,000 Humvees. So I bought a military Humvee to keep down at our farm for less than what you pay for a Kubota or one of those, those John Deere Gators are really expensive. And it's still not a Humvee, right? As much as you want it to be, it's still not a Humvee. So when it arrived last Monday, and I looked at the steering column and the gauges, and there's no ignition key, I was like, I have no idea how to even start this thing. Like, what do you do? It didn't come with a manual. So what did I do? Yeah, I went to YouTube and just typed in how to drive a Humvee. Guess what I found? They actually have a 3-part series that the military used to show and make all of their drivers watch, and it's really dated. It's kind of funny because they're wearing the old camouflage from the 80s, early 90s before Desert Storm. So it looks like what people wear to go, dove hunting in, Stewart and Chattahoochee County, just old camo. Anyway, so I've watched 3 videos and I know how you should drive the Humvee. Doesn't mean that I really know how to do it yet. But before YouTube, how would you learn how to do something? You have to ask somebody. If I want to learn how to drive stick, I need to go ask somebody that has a manual transmission to take me somewhere that's really, really flat and teach me how to drive stick, right? My friend just bought a Tesla and took me for a ride this weekend. There are no buttons on a Tesla. It's a huge 17-inch touchscreen that has all your controls. And there are really no dealerships because they sell out before they're even manufactured or even designed. So their whole training program and information is built into the actual vehicle. So you can look at tutorials and view your manual, and pretty pictures come up to show you what the correct function should look like. We're now explaining things, and people want to learn so much more that unless there's someone specific to ask, y'all do this, you're going to Google. You go to YouTube, type in how to, who's gone to YouTube and typed in a how to recently? Christy, what'd you ask?
Video.
How to video. Dana.
How to unclog a drain.
And what results did you get?
A lot.
Yeah. Some of them are just from people that are do-it-yourselfers. Home Depot may actually have one from their plumbing department. Point is, you can get lots of information online. So, what happens when you share your knowledge with your clients?
You become very knowledgeable to them.
Right, and they only ask you like a couple questions, right? Just like 4 or 5 questions through that whole process. Right?
And 100 plus 100.
Plus 100. And so, if all you're doing is providing that information to one person, how else will someone know or understand how knowledgeable you are about real estate? How has that traditionally happened? Kathy helps me buy a house, and I'm good friends with Alan, and I tell Alan, my real estate agent she is just so knowledgeable. If you need to buy something, Alan, you need to call Kathy. That's rare that they even do that, but it's a one-to-one relationship. So for lots of people to think you are very, very experienced, or at least be perceived, you have to do what? Talk to lots. You got to talk to lots of people, or they got to tell your story for you, and that can take years. And that's something I want y'all to think about: is how much time will pass before you're perceived as an expert. And let's be honest. I mean, every time the contract changes, we have to learn something new. You're never going to know every single detail. You can't go to GRI 3, see all those designations. There's so much to learn about this business, but I think what I've heard from y'all is there's probably about 50 or 100 questions that every client will always ask you, and those answers don't necessarily change. They're asking about, you know, how much earnest money I need to put down, who pays closing costs, do I need title insurance? So they ask a lot of these questions, and if you're only having that conversation with one person at a time, it could take a very long time for your marketplace to perceive you as the expert. So, the challenge is you have to think like a buyer, not a realtor, a real estate agent. And I put up a couple of questions that I think clients ask y'all, and would be very valuable if you provided this information to more than one person at a time. Because when did I watch those Humvee videos? At like 11 o'clock at night, when everything else was already done. Because that's really not going to make me any money. I don't have time to call the trainer on post and ask if they will come to my house on the weekend and get a babysitter and teach me how to drive a Humvee, but I can go spend 10 minutes on YouTube and at least get the thing cranked and hopefully, you know, driving. So the goal is to have some of your knowledge available 24/7 so that you can share it with your clients, and so that potential prospective clients can find answers to their questions whenever they're asking. So, how to respond to multiple offers. What is a good interest rate? What are closing costs? 5 mistakes to avoid when selling your home. How to market your home on Zillow. Do I need title insurance? I've got, you know, a 3-page list of these questions, and that's what I want to start encouraging y'all to do is, how many times do you answer this? Y'all name out the number 5 questions that buyers ask you. Do y'all have this? I mean, do y'all give the same answer for all those questions?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's do a test. Will they take less? Kappa, what is your response? Will the seller take less?
We don't know for sure, but we can write an offer.
Okay. Sandy,
I was going to say just about the same thing.
would anybody say that differently?
It just depends who you represent.
This is the buyer.
And you're assuming they've signed an agreement.
Okay.
Explain it's on a depends on the motivation.
Will they take less?
So if that's what every agent says, why are buyers still asking that?
Because they think there's deals. Everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants a deal. Everybody wants a deal.
Because they haven't found any evidence before they've met you to help them determine, will people take less? If clients are still asking y'all all the same questions, you have to think about, why are they asking? What's driving them? Is someone providing information that's causing them to think differently, so that when they come to you, they have preconceived conceptions about what they should do, and you're trying to convince them, like, well, you know, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know you want to offer 30% less than asking price, but the house has been on the market for just a week. You know, how many times is that happening now? Yeah. So a great little 30-second video might be why you shouldn't offer anything less than full price in the first week. Okay? Now, I'm just throwing it out there. I have not done any research on Google AdWords or YouTube to see if people are searching for those. But my point is, they're still asking the same questions.
And they're reading things that, once it's out there, it's out there. And
That's right.
Things that say sellers will take 20% less across the board.
That's right.
Old videos. So
that's right. So, and the market changes. So, you've got to think about this. What are the benefits of trying to provide some informational explainer videos is can help you be perceived as an expert. Help you exceed your clients' expectations. Y'all know this from previous meetings. They're Googling you, they're checking out your website, going to Facebook. They're coming prepared either with the right information or the wrong information. People are curious. My generation and the generation below me is one of the most curious generations. Now, I can only imagine how curious my children's generation is going to be. And I'm only estimating that based on all the stuff they get into right now. I mean, people love to learn. You can look at the history. Every generation, the previous generations may call them rebellious. We call ourselves inquisitive, interested, curious. People want to learn things, and guess what? They want to learn things because they don't want to pay for mistakes. And people still have a really hard time building trust because they may have made a mistake. They don't want to share all their confidential information with you up front. But if you help educate them on some of the processes and what's important, that may help you build a little more trust. Reduce friction and stress. You know, that's why you see a lot of these mortgage companies accepting applications online. I don't know how Rocket Mortgage is going to do. That's Quicken's, mobile application process. I'm not sure we're ready for getting loans on your phone, but the time it takes to do all of this. Everyone's not always available to come by the office in the middle of the day on their lunch break or take a couple hours off if they could find the same information somewhere else. And to create business opportunities. Now, the Humvee videos I've watched, there's not a real business opportunity there, but I've watched other videos on how to do things that led me to a purchase. I quail hunt a lot in the fall, and with small children, I needed to find a way to clean birds in a shorter amount of time. And what I realized is no one wants to clean birds. It's not really fun. And they don't know how to do it correctly, so it takes twice as long. So to take people quail hunting, when you ask do you want the birds, most people say no because they don't want to clean them. And so I went home and Googled how to clean quail. And the Arizona Wildlife Federation had 3 ways to do it. Without gloves, very simple, and then they actually had a link to their website with recipes on how to cook quail. And what? A recipe book. And then you saw the link to the products they sell, hats, vests, whatnot. So it's not always to create business opportunities. But if you're perceived as the expert in an industry, you have no idea of where that can lead you. People may call you that you've never thought of because they feel you're knowledgeable and you've shared that with them. So, I want to challenge y'all to do, you don't have to do it today, but sometime this week, just list 20 video titles. Those titles are what? Questions people ask you. It could be sellers, buyers. Don't try to categorize it. Just start writing them down. 20 things people ask you. Make sure you write it down in the manner in which they ask. So, not why you shouldn't offer less than full price. I mean, what they ask you is what? Will they take less? So write down what your clients ask you. Then set a date in the next 2 weeks. Just with your phone or your iPad, just shoot a video of 3 of them. You don't have to post it anywhere, but just do it. See what it looks like. See if it's informative. I'll be happy to review the 3 you shoot with you before you decide to put them anywhere. Because I know, I used to be shy one time. I know you have a hard time believing that. And I used to not like to share my thoughts or opinions. But we are in the business. It was like freshman year of high school. And any time that I was questioned in front of a jury, I didn't share, my opinion. No, but we're in a business that's based on our reputation, and we give advice. That's our profession. We counsel people on the right thing to do in their unique situation. So, unless you have all the time in the world to go meet with people every single day and give them all your advice all day long, it takes years to build that reputation. And so to be perceived as an expert or reassure folks that you still are the expert in that marketplace, video is a great way to do that with informational and explainer videos. Doesn't have to be complicated. The questions y'all mentioned, people ask that in any market. No one in this market is answering any of those questions. So just start jotting down some titles, and then set a date in the next 2 weeks by yourself, or maybe you want someone to hold your camera for you, and just shoot 3 quick responses to that. Don't make it complicated. Just do it in about 30 or 45 seconds, less than a minute, and just respond to those questions. And then I'll be happy to sit down and review those with you and help you determine if that's how you want to be perceived. And then, we'll talk about how you get it on YouTube and what those next steps are. So this concludes our video sessions. We've been talking about this for 2 months. At our next business meeting, which is in May, we're not going to introduce anything new. So we're just going to help you learn how to sort it all out. That's the theme for next month. So thank you all for being here today.